just want to do a quick video today on the ins and outs of the V-Strom 650 as an absolute beginner bike. I think I talked about it in general in the other video, and I did say that I would recommend it as a beginner bike. I stand by that, but I guess I wanted to talk about specifically brand new to biking, never ridden a bike before, don't know what style you want to ride, that kind of person. Why would you, if I was selling you this bike, how would I do it? And first of all, I think it comes to the style of riding that you're doing on this bike. Adventure bikes are very comfortable. They're kind of like dirt bike style riding, but not. It's kind of the best of both worlds. So you kind of got a dirt bike style comfort, well, ergonomics I should say, but with the comfort of a sort of bigger bike, more plush suspension. I kind of feel like I'm in an armchair in this thing, kind of like my cruiser, but even more comfortable. And it is, after the last video someone commented, and I've seen a few people much shorter than me riding these bikes, and even watching myself ride the bike, I'm like, it's not as tall as I thought. It's definitely not as tall as my WR450 or the other bikes. So it can kind of be a one size fits all bike. It is, I'll still stand by my statement saying it is kind of a bit cumbersome to move and park on a hill, which is the same as all kind of adventure bikes for some reason. I don't have that issue with my other bikes, with the cruiser. They got a lower center of gravity. So it's a one size fits all for a beginner. Another thing I want to talk about is how easy it is to maintain one of these bikes. So the kind of person that would buy this, well, there's two kinds of person. There's the kind of person that's very good at wrenching, very good at doing the mechanics, very good at doing all the fiddly bits, and just like the person that owned this bike, so I'm the second owner of this bike. I'm the second owner of this bike, and every single service looked like it was a logbook service with the guy that had, like, the book was perfect. And a lot of people that have bought these bikes from brand new are in a sort of age group or demographic where they don't want to do all the wrenching themselves. And so when you buy a bike like this, especially as second owner, it's usually been well looked after. It's got a lot of Ks on it. Like, this thing's got quite a few Ks on it. Let me see if I can pull it up. Yeah, 90,000 Ks. So this thing's got quite a lot of Ks on it, but it really doesn't matter, because it's been, to me it was a no-brainer because it was so well looked after, and with the features. So reliability and wrenching, I guess, is another plus. If you want to just buy a bike and not wrench on it much, and you don't want to learn how to you know, tension your chains or change your tires, and you don't want to learn all that stuff, this is the bike for you. It's kind of got service intervals like a car, and to be honest, when you first get a bike, you don't want to be wrenching that much. I don't even want to be wrenching that much now. It's just that I do enjoy it, but I'd much rather be riding, and that's the fun part when you first get a bike, isn't it? I know people do it the other way around. They get a cheap bike and they spend a lot of time wrenching on it before they even ride it. I've been like that with cars when I was a young man. But if you don't want to do that, you just want something reliable that you're not going to have to service the heck out of, this would be a great bike for you. The power, I've mentioned it before, the power is more than adequate for the roads, and I don't know if it would have been scary for me as an absolute beginner. Maybe it was. Actually, I've got to be very honest, it would be scary for me as an absolute beginner, because the DR650 was, you know, I don't care who you are, if you didn't grow up riding bikes, the first time you get on a bike, a 650, it's got more than enough power to give you the frighteners, right? There's going to be guys that say, oh no, I not me. All right, whatever. But I'm honest enough to say, no, there's a few butt clenching moments for me. This bike's got a lot more power than the DR650. It puts it down a lot quicker than the DR650. It's heavier than the DR650, but it's no scarier than the DR650. Let me tell you that. It's not a scary bike to ride. Like I said in the other video, the power delivery is really smooth. It's my personal opinion, Suzuki's are a bit jerkier than the Yamahas that I have with the throttle, but it could just be that they're more responsive, and I just gotta learn how to deal with them. Yeah, I'm that guy revving my bike at the stoplight. So power delivery smooth, and I don't think you'd get into trouble. The gearing is pretty good on this bike, as far as it makes sense. Like you change sensible intervals. And when you're on the ball, it changes really smoothly. Like it's a really quite a smooth bike indeed. So yes, that's a tick for a beginner with the power. What else have we got a tick for? Like I said, the size is one size fits all. The seat height can be, like, you can adjust the back. It's not a bike you're going to get bored of too quickly. So I guess I'll put this under the category of versatility. As a beginner rider, you're just not going to get bored of anything about this bike straight away. After a while, I'm sure you will. It's human nature, right? You always want to expand, do more, whatever, right? But no one is in a hurry to give these bikes away when they first start riding them, as opposed to some of the other bikes I've had or have. Like when they first start riding them, they get bored of them very quickly and they want to go up. I know people that have had these as their first bike for years and they still keep one of them. So it's a testament to the bike and its versatility. Like you can set it up, if you had no other off-road bike, you could set this up for more off-road. Like I said, I have a dual sport bike, so this thing's going to see mainly touring duties or commuting, my all-rounder. But yeah, you could set this up for more off-road or more real adventuring. But other than that, the power's enough. You can get you around town. Quite happy commuting. I know it's 66 horsepower, but it's got a decent amount of torque. I haven't got bored of it yet, but in saying that, I don't get bored of bikes very quickly, and I'm not all about speed. So where you would get bored of it, I guess, is if you're a speed demon and you want to show off, or this is the downside. Where you would get bored of it is if you wanted to impress people, right? This bike doesn't seem to have you either love them or hate her. You love them or hate them. If you turn up to a meet or you're riding with friends, they're not going to go, oh cool, you got a V-Strom. It's not about that. It's not about the image. This is kind of like, what do I liken it to? I was going to say the Toyota Camry of bikes, but I think that's an insult. It's not a Toyota Camry. It's far more versatile than a Toyota Camry, but it's the Suzuki Jimny of bikes. You know what I mean? It's function over form a little bit. I think, like I've said, this is a respectable bike for the age. This is a 2013 model, but even the older ones still look pretty good. They still look pretty good. It depends. People are very fickle, so if you're looking for style, you're probably not going to go for this, but I could care less, really. Run over a seagull here. So that's another thing. Another point is, if you were a brand new beginner, how are you going to go on your test with this bike? So I was harsh on it when I first got it, but let's get us a key. I was harsh on this bike when I first got it for doing your test on it, but you wouldn't do your test on this bike after you just bought it, and I just bought it. I just bought the bike, so, and I had been very used to riding 2 or 3 other bikes, and so this one, the characteristics were very different. Now that I've had it for a while, I've had it for a few months, I could totally see doing the Australian most test, or doing your rider training test. I think it does handle pretty good at those lower speeds. The swerve test, all the braking, all that kind of stuff that you do, it does that really well. And as a beginner, it's very forgiving. I've said this many times before. It's forgiving in the wrong gear. Like, it kind of makes you, I'm going to go into negatives in a minute, it kind of makes you a lazy rider, because the V-twin engine will just pull you out of most situations. Yeah. I said it doesn't stall on you. I've stalled it a couple of times, to be quite honest. It's caught me off guard. I'm like, you let me get away with stuff before, and now, you know, like really quick stopping and then starting, you know, just getting used to the clutch, it just stalled a couple of times. That's a couple of times out of owning it for 6 months. It's not too bad for me anyway. But the big one that I recommend this for beginners is the price of these second-hand bikes. I never recommend getting a brand new bike for a beginner, or a brand new car for that matter, but maybe I'm old school. Maybe that's out the window now, I don't know. But you're going to drop it. You're going to do stuff that scrapes it, right? Why would you buy a brand new bike that's instantly going to lose thousands of dollars anyway, and then you're going to lose thousands of dollars more because you've dropped it? And I've seen it happen. I see it happen all the time. People go out and buy brand new MT-03s or MT-07s, and you think it's not going to happen to you. Well, I thought so too. It's just, it is what it is. Maybe you'll be lucky. But I dropped this bike, I've said that before, I dropped this bike the very first day I had it. And I may not have done it if it was the first bike I'd ridden. I just got so used to balancing on the WR450. I'd been riding that for about 2 months straight, and it's a very different bike to this. You can get away with it. It's so much lighter than this. So I would not recommend pulling up in your driveway on a sloping driveway without being prepared with your keys in hand, or your keys in easy reach. That's what happened to me, but the bike was easy to pick up. Going back to my point, the price is, well, was, I think it's changed since that time of year, but the price was unbelievable for these bikes. For the amount of bike you get, I feel they're giving it away, and I'll tell you why I feel they're giving it away. I might do it in another video, I might sneak it in now. We're not talking about the negatives. What is happening here? Okay, cool. So the price, I feel the value for money for these bikes is the best around for a brand new bike that does everything. Because as a beginner, unless you're getting into it for the looks, you want to be part of the cruiser crowd or sports bike crowd, but if you're kind of a bit more mature way of thinking, and you don't know what style of bike you want yet, I would recommend this. And I've always looked at kind of getting straight into adventure bikes rather than dual sports, but I'm glad I went the dual sport route. But yeah, look, this does, like I said, it does everything. And where do you get that for the money these things are going for secondhand? Check them out. Now, as we speak, for the last week or so since I posted the last video, the price has gone up dramatically. I don't know if people watched my videos and said, oh, I'm going to pump the price up on this, or it's just that time of year because you've got to check the market. But right now, this particular bike would probably be going for $3,000 more than what I bought it for. It's weird. Maybe I should sell it, but I don't see myself selling this one too quickly. But maybe we'll put it out there for a test and just put it for a test sale and see what we get, see what interest we get. I've got the panniers on, so I cannot get around these guys. Way. Sick of being stuck behind trucks. So let's talk about the negatives, why you wouldn't buy this as a beginner bike. Well, the main negative I feel is, like I said, it does feel top heavy, right? I want other people to comment. Is this just me? If you've got this bike, do you agree that it feels a bit top heavy when it's standing still or at slow speeds. To me it does. And I did mention about the wrenching and reliability before, but the second point why you probably wouldn't get this bike is if you want to keep the costs down and wrench yourself. It's more technical than some other bikes. It's more technical than most of your dual sports or your regular bikes. It's fuel injected, a twin, water cooled. It's got a bit more technology. There's a bit more to go wrong, yeah. So that's the case with anything. I just have to add that I mean when things go wrong, because a general service on this bike is very easy to do, and it's actually an easy bike to maintain generally. If you're not good at wrenching, it's going to be costly. Some of the services are going to be costly, right? It just takes some more time to do stuff on this bike. It's going to cost you a bit more. You're going to pay more for labour. Not so much for parts, because the parts are pretty cheap. So that is a bonus. The parts for this bike aren't that expensive for what it is, because it's been around forever. So there's a lot of manufacturers making chains, sprockets, components, spark plugs, you name it. This and the SV60 have been around for forever now. So this engine's been around forever. It's pretty common. And you can get a lot of the body panel second-hand or reproduction without too much drama. Another possible negative would be, I know I said the power was in a positive, but this does have a decent amount of power for someone brand new. If you grab a handful of throttle, you really need to have your throttle control on with this. If you grab a handful of throttle, it could possibly end badly. But it's the same on any bike, isn't it? But I'm just saying this has got more power than the other bikes, other smaller displacement or other 650s out there. So it could get you into trouble if you don't have your throttle control down yet. Yeah, it's not going to get you into trouble like a sports bike. I feel that a 400 sports bike is twitchier to ride than this. So, but it's just something to keep in mind. This thing is, so another negative is it does take up a bit more space than the others. I can't fit this in where I had my DR650. I can't fit this in where I had my WR450. Just physically it's a bigger bike. My partner says it's a really big bike. It's not a really big bike, but let's have a look at the comparison between this and say an Africa Twin and the BMW. It's pretty close, yeah, in dimensions and size. It's not close in power, but it's pretty close in the overall dimensions and lengths, and I think this actually has a taller seat height than the Beamer. So this was just meant to be a short video, but I've waffled on a bit. I've enjoyed riding it. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope it's given you an insight. These are my own personal opinions after having the bike for 6 months. Again, if I was to do it all again, would I get this bike as my first bike? The honest answer is no. I'm glad I went dual sport first. I'm glad, because I do feel that with these twins and this bike kind of does you do rely on the technology a lot, and I wanted to be a better rider. You know, I wanted to ride a bike without ABS. I'm still a bit clunky, you know, but I think that's just my style. It's even my driving style. Yeah, but if I had to only have one bike, so if I adjust that question and I say I had to only have one bike, then yes, I would buy this and I would keep it for a few years for sure. I hope this has given you some clarity. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Ride safe.